Are they multiple pages?
No,
Okay.
just one.
This is a 12-page document, but I decided to save some trees and just printed the relevant portion. So this handout reminds us how this type of project really does fit the strategic needs of both the city and what the EDC was charged to do in housing area. So this top part is the housing goal that was in the comprehensive plan. And this certainly fits with the comprehensive plan. And then as far as the EDC, we see that it also fits with the EDC plan of bringing a wide variety of developers and builders into the area and incentivizing them to be here. So I'm feeling very good about the type of development. We need 1,500 units of housing, so 48 is a start, right? So this could be the beginning of something really big. And I'm here for a little while if anybody has any questions.
Would anybody else like to stand and address council?
Hello, my name is Pat Olding. I'm development specialist at Woda Cooper. I'm joined here tonight by our senior vice president development, Greg Patterson. I want to just give a little bit of a background about Woda Cooper, what we do, and what we're proposing here in Albion. So Woda Cooper is an affordable housing developer. We're based out of Columbus, Ohio, but operate in 17 states. We actually have an office here in Mackinac, Michigan, where Greg works out of. We are vertically integrated, so we develop, construct, and manage all of our properties. So, we're not here to build something and then leave. We want to be members of the community. We're here long term. And then as for this project that we're proposing, it's a 48 unit development in two-story walk-up buildings. There's quite a few site amenities such as a fenced playground, community plaza with benches and grills, a community room which has kitchenettes, restrooms, an office for our community manager. We'll have a full-time community manager and maintenance technician on site. And these units there'll be 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units. And they will be restricted to tenants earning between 30% and 80% of the area median income. And rents on the low end for the 1-bedroom 30% will start at $357 a month. And then on the high end at the 80% 3-bedroom units, it'll go up to $1,469 a month. And Greg and I are both here all night. So any questions that you have, please let us know. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to stand and address council? All right. Do I have a motion to approve of ordinance 2023-07?
So moved.
City Manager Slater?
But don't we get to discuss?
Well, she's gonna give us information and then we can discuss.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So they already kind of beat me to it because I was gonna have Virgie as well as Pat kind of come up and introduce the project. Virgie as the new housing champion and then as a representative from the development team. So you just received an overview of the proposed project. I had the opportunity to meet with the developer on October 30th. They are working to submit an application to MISTA for their LIHTC winter funding round, I would call it. So December 1st is the deadline. So I met with them October 30th to learn about this project. So it would be 48 affordable units coming to our community. In our meeting, the MISTA process, it's very competitive and it is all based on a scoring. So you really want to make your application as attractive as possible to ultimately get the highest score. A part of that, the developer can request a pilot from the community they're looking to develop in. So a pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. It's not something new to our community. Currently we have 2 active pilots. So with this, I had a chance to sit down and discuss the original request or proposal. What they're looking at a 3% pilot and a 2% municipal services agreement. I will share our current pilots. We do not have a municipal services agreement, which you don't need one to have the other. I think the MSA can go along with the pilot, but in order to approve or grant a pilot, it does require an ordinance. So that is what's before you. In our initial conversation, they shared the info about the project and we were hoping to get it on the November 6th meeting agenda. However, that does not give me a lot of time to connect internally to go over the data that I've been provided to make sure that I can prepare data to give to council to make this decision, because ultimately it'll be up to you to make that decision. So that's why we're here at the special meeting. I said to the development team that I will work with council to come up with a special meeting, but I just wanted to feel comfortable presenting a recommendation to council. So I did need a little bit more time. So they have provided us with the additional information that we needed to feel comfortable making a recommendation to council. So before you is a request for a 6% pilot. We have moved away from the municipal services agreement. I don't think there's anything wrong with an MSA. However, since we don't have one currently in place with other pilots, I'm more comfortable just keeping it, following that same process with this one. So we're looking at a 6% pilot over the course of 20 years. So the city assessor, he has pulled data. These are all based on estimates, because right now, until they go out and reassess property values, we don't know. And then it's inflation. We don't know what next year the inflation rate will be. So this is his best estimate on what we would collect for awarding that 6% pilot. And then also what the developer is essentially saving, because this is an abatement that allows them to make this project a reality. So over the course, so at a 6% pilot, we are looking at an increase each year and what we collect on this property. So right now we currently collect $2,041.97. If you decide to move forward with the pilot, we will see an increase of $4,901.03. So for a total of $6,943 that the city would collect if this pilot is granted. However, the total pilot amount is $22,295, but then you have to take out all of the different percentages that go to the other taxing units. So it is an increase, and based off of the information that we were given, and we are working under a tight timeline to be able to meet this December 1st deadline. I do feel comfortable making the recommendation to move forward with the pilot request that has been requested from the developer. And then essentially it will be up to MISTA if they are awarded the funding. Happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
So this is directed at Virgie. So according to the housing goal number 2, the idea is to provide a diverse range of high quality housing options for all income levels and life stages. I want to know how this project diversifies our housing stock, considering how many units we already have in subsidized housing.
So this is a LIHTC project, different than subsidized housing. Subsidized housing usually involves a different style of funding. So this is 48 units. We know that if you're looking at what you would work with the Housing Commission, they are full. They don't have any open units right now. So there's plenty of people that will be able to utilize this particular housing. This is really called low to moderate income housing. And the goal is that there's lots of folks, for example, in the last 10 years, we've lost 1,000 people here in the city because people didn't have anywhere to live that they could afford. So this would be a situation where families could stay together, or they could stay in the city of Albion, or they could come back to Albion. So this is a much needed, type of housing. It's high quality housing and it will fit, workforce folks. So it's very, needed. I think 56% of these units are at the 80% AMI category. So that's, that's quite a few of the units that are at the 80% level.
Thank you. So, this is housing for existing people who meet that income requirement.
Existing meaning,
People who are already living here, who are living in different housing, that are seeking some savings in their housing cost by moving into this kind of housing versus in a house that's, standalone, that's
Yeah.
maybe falling into disrepair, that kind of thing.
so I'm gonna have you a little bit this, but so the idea here is that for someone to be able to be stable and create economies of scale for themselves, it's best if you don't have to spend more than 30% of your income on housing. So the goal here is if someone is already spending more than that on their housing, say they have an old house is what you're thinking, and it's really hard for the upkeep, like this would be a good transition for them. So
Right.
I would say yes to that. I would say in the transition of housing, as we see it as a continuum, that gives us the chance to renovate that house and maybe bring it up to something that a bigger family could move into.
So who's they that would do that?
So who would renovate that person's home?
Right, right.
Well, whoever buys that when they sell it, I would think. This also could be, certainly, it's income driven. So anyone looking for housing, could live there. They don't have to live in Albion right now, but if they were coming into town, they could live there too. So of the 1,500 units we need, this would be 48.
Right, but it's 1,500 units that are not going to be paying property taxes per se, versus say a regular commercial apartment building that is not built under the financial structure that you're proposing, that's not limited to folks making 30% of the average income of the city, which is only, the poverty level. 80% of our average median income in the city of Albion is the poverty level.
Which is why developers have such a hard time developing here.
Right, so my argument is that do we want more housing so that poor people from outside of the city move into the city instead of trying to find development for people who are going to work at, say, the Blue Oval plant, who will not be making poverty wages, to move into our city? That's the only question I'm asking.
So we need 1,500 units of housing across the whole continuum. We need far
You have
more,
that broken down.
we need far more than 48 units. I don't have it broken down tonight. But we need far more than 48 units. This is a drop in the bucket of the number of high quality income driven housing that we need. You said something and I wanted to come back to it. What did you just asked?
You may see me.
So yes, we need this housing.
Okay,
I would say, the LIHTC program brings an exceptionally high amount of equity. I know what I was gonna say. The developers actually pay the property taxes on this. So there is property tax. It's the pilot allows for a payment to make sure that the city's municipal services are covered. So that's the general sense of why you want to do that. And MISTA gives extra points to the developer, 10 points last time I did one.
Mhm.
And without that, it's very, very hard to score. So the point of giving a pilot for this type of program is to make sure they score high enough to be competitive to bring the housing.
understood.
The entity at the highest risk is the developer
Absolutely,
for this project. So
absolutely.
I don't know if that helps.
No, it does. Thank you.
Councilman Williams.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so that we have an understanding of what's going on here with this property, right? It's an affordable housing unit, is intended for workforce housing. And workforce housing speaks to people who go to work. In many communities throughout the country, actually, nearly every community across the country, you need workforce housing. The reason you need workforce housing is because you have people that's just now entering the workforce and they make a certain amount. You have people who've been in the workforce that make a certain amount and they may not earn enough to, let's say, purchase a house. Now, housing in general here in the city of Albion is very constrained and limited. We all know that. There's more vacant lots than new construction here in the community, right? So how do we, one, maintain the levels of population that we currently have, which we know we're on a downturn according to our last census. We went from 8,700 to 7,700, which in turn ended up costing us, the city of Albion, over $1 million in money that we receive from the government, from the state, right? Okay, now 48 units of affordable housing for people who don't have to spend more than 30% of their income to reside here in the city of Albion. I think it's something that's beneficial, but to provide added clarity, I want to ask you all, at what price points do those salaries start at?
Honorable Mayor, Craig Patterson, Senior Vice President, Willie Cooper. I do live in Mackinac. We attracted Jeff Wodum, David Cooper to the state of Michigan when I lived in Alpena. We heard that they might want to invest in this state. We have 40 developments now in the state of Michigan. And I just dedicated one in Mount Clemens on Thursday afternoon. And I have, Mr. French, I have an example to give you of a woman who said, I desperately need this housing because I want to give up my single family. I'm older. I have nobody that can maintain the property. I will sell it and I will move into Edison Crossing. But the price points and the income levels, Virgie mentioned that we have 56% of the units that are at the highest AMI that we can charge, income cap. And that means a single person who is working, or a single senior who may have sold their home, can still have an income of 44,000 and live in that unit. Capped.
Okay, excuse me.
That's a good number.
Yeah, 44,000. I'd say most teachers, well, average teacher salary here in the state of Michigan is around 45 to a little bit higher than that. But I know working here in the community, I worked for 11 years at World Corrugated, 5 days a week, and I never made more than $31,000. So I possibly would have been able to rent this at that time, but
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But a hardworking individual who's going to work every day could afford to be able to live in.
And if they are a family of four, the combined income allows them to move up to 61,000 and still live there. Now that's the income cap. Now, what we don't do is we don't take rents at the 80%. We back them down to in the 60%, 60, 62. If you look at a rent matrix, that's where we are, to help these families get in. And lots of times, you know, there's a misnomer about housing that is funded, low to moderate income housing. They think are people who don't work, or seniors who are at the lowest end, and we just address that. But I like to think of teachers, individuals who are government workers at the lower end and moving on up. I like to think of entrepreneurs who need a start and they need housing for their family that can live there and grow their business, whatever that business may be. And it may be a home-based business. You know how that works. So there's a lot of opportunity here for Albion, for Kennedy Green, if we can get this pilot. The pilot is absolutely essential.
So a family of four, let's say making 55,000, which I think may be close to around a officer salary here in the city. Not sure exactly, but we'll use it for reference. They'd be able to live there as well.
Family of four making a total of
Total of
55,000 could live there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, what's changed, and Virgie mentioned to me before I came in tonight, it's been many, many years since you had a Mishta funded 9% light tech deal like we're proposing at Kennedy Green. What happened? Believe it or not, Trump signed it into law that said that we can income average, which will allow you to stretch up to 80%. But the total matrix across has to average 60%. Kept us within the section 42 IRS code, which allocates this federal housing tax credits to the state of Michigan based on our population. We get X number of credits. It doesn't come out of the state coffers, it comes out of the federal coffers, and it helps offset corporate taxes, which we've all heard how high our corporate taxes are. I think it's a great opportunity for Albion, but I'll listen, I'll stop speaking, I'll answer any question you may have about Woda Cooper, specific Kennedy Green, and how we got the 40 developments in probably 16 years.
Okay, and I'd also like to add something. A pilot, which we're discussing this evening, is something that's in the toolbox of the cities. So it's in the toolbox of the cities to specifically help with incentivizing developers to do business in your town. So what's the business that we need here? Well, according to the comprehensive plan, we need affordable housing here. There's not a large margin of profitability in affordable housing because of the lower rents. So there's no incentive for, let's say, a market rate property to have a pilot because of what benefit of it to the city is there, right? You don't really check off any of the boxes that the city needs and stuff for adding additional housing. But we need affordable housing, especially in Census Tract 36, which is one of the poorest in the state, with a poverty level of nearly 61%. Now, we don't need more low income housing. We need affordable working class housing because we're a working class city and precinct 1 happens to be a working class neighborhood in which everyone that lives there is working class people predominantly.
There's a couple other things we like to talk about. This will be LEED certified, which means the utility costs will be lower to your citizens, to the tenants. More disposable income. It is in the Eaton corridor up near the big boxes, walkable jobs. A lot of opportunity for those people to become employed and not have to deal with winter conditions, et cetera, to get to work, build a stronger Albion. For workers who can have shelter they're proud of and their families can raise and be nurtured there. We have been told and that our units, and if you look at Edison Crossing that we just had the ribbon cutting last week. If you look at our Traverse City properties that are finishing up construction now throughout the state, people say these look better than market rate. The reason why they look better is because everything that Mishta requires us to build, and more importantly, our investors require, because it's their skin in the game for the 15-year compliance period. All that goes into many shepherds that are managing our flock. Our flock is management company, which we have our own, our development company, our ownership. Compliance is key. And believe me, everybody looks throughout construction. Our investors will be on site to invest, to look and inspect to make sure we're building per spec. Mishta will be there. And it's so important. And Mr. Williams mentioned something important about the pilot. We can't win without it. Battle Creek, if you don't give me a pilot, may win. Traverse City may win. Detroit may get another one because Mishta has on blinders. All they care about is score, 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 score. Our investors, on the other hand, have to have a pilot because they need predictability. They need to know that over 15 years of compliance, it's not going to be like this on the single highest operating expense in this type of project, and that is taxes.
Our city manager made mention of a December 1 deadline for funding.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the proponents that need to be met in order to put our application in good standing?
Well, Pat and team have done a lot of good work with our architect, which is based in Muskegon, and our civil, Warren Brundrick, based in Grand Rapids, and they brought a site plan and building plans. All that is pretty much done. We have a meeting next week to get the site plan approval. We submitted stamp plans last week to make sure that everything was there to meet your code. The other thing, this pilot approval, but there's a lot of things Pat's doing to get utility letters. We have a tenant services that we are providing on site, which are mandated on this type of family. This is a family development that allows singles, seniors, and families. So all that's being done, and we're rushing to get it done. One thing I wanted to mention, though, that I failed to mention earlier, the Housing Commission will have part of our ownership. What that means is they're going to be a GP owner, and some of our developer fee is going to be shared back with the Housing Commission, which then allows reinvestment in housing in this area in the county. And it's the first time in the 20+ years I've been with WODA that we have invested this way in a housing commission. You're the first. This county is the first.
So GP investment, what does that stand for?
General partnership. They will be a 25% general partner. Part of it is they'll get 25% of our developer fee. And the other thing we will do over the next 15 years is work with them. He's a lot younger, so he'll be there, but work with them to build capacity in areas where they need capacity and development and management. Not saying that they don't know how to manage, but they will learn in our practices as well, what we do to manage properties throughout the 17 states and 400 properties and 16,000 tenants that we manage. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, one of the things that came to our attention, and Virgie mentioned it a little bit, regarding your ratings. And of course, when I look online, why do you think such is presented to the public?
Well, it's interesting. We all love the internet and we've all benefited. And one of the advantages, any person can go online and rate. And I saw the rating. I checked it out earlier today to get it.
1.1 it is.
Pardon?
1.1.9, 1.119 or something like that.
Yeah, there are different rating websites. The one I've looked at is the 2.1, which rates our management, which 67 out of 253, I think Virgie mentioned 67 out of 253 were 1. And then there were some 5 stars as well, some 4s and 3s. I don't have the breakdown. But what I like to say is, since COVID, and what's going on with COVID, and a lot of rent was not collected, and then delay. In some communities, some of our tenants have been a little miffed when the parameters changed and they had to start paying rent, and they may have not been prepared. And in some cases, we had to evict. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever been evicted and you felt that wasn't fair, but anyhow, some of that is it, but it's really only about 1.5% of our total 16,000 residents that are reflected, only 253 out of 16,000. So,
Hold on, I'm gonna call on Councilwoman Reed since you haven't had a
Oh,
chance to ask
yep.
a question.
Well, I was just thinking, I have talked to some people because Albion's been a retirement destination for years. And there's a lot of young people now who are beginning to get older. They're getting in their forties and fifties who are saying, we want to come closer to our parents
sure.
to help them because they're even older than that. And this would be good for them because they really don't want to own homes because as parents pass on, they leave property and things to people, but they want to have a place to live closer to their parents so that they can kind of mentor them and see to them being taken care of until that time comes. And so this is a good.
So that's a great comment. I've never heard that comment before. It's usually that the seniors want to give up the homes, but the children want to rent to be close to their families. They don't want to buy now. I mean, that's a good comment. I hadn't heard that before.
Councilman Reeves.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. We recently voted in rental certification.
Hmm.
Do you guys currently operate in any communities that have rental certification? And one of our concerns, well, the majority of our concern in doing so was protecting renters from landlords who may have been providing substandard living standards.
Well, the answer is yes. We do participate in rental certification. In fact, we applaud it. We think it's a good thing as long as your fees aren't crazy. I just went through this in Pontiac. We're under a rental certification program on 2 of our properties. And they contacted us the other day to say, hey, we're a little bit behind. Do you mind giving us an update on your rent rolls, et cetera, and said, absolutely. There are other communities in the state that do this. And the reason we applaud it is because, like you, we want to take care of our customers, our tenants. You may know if you own rental property, the last thing you want to do is turn if you can keep it and create stickiness. And sometimes, I'll be honest, we're people. Sometimes our rental property manager may miss something. You know, we do go through on a monthly basis. We notify and say that we come through on a monthly basis, just to check out the units, but it's always good to have a third party.
With MSHA, there's certain things that you have to adhere to as well, right? With receiving the pilot and things.
Well, with MSHA, first of all, we have to receive it, then we have to notify MSHA that we've received it, then MSHA will come back and verify with the assessor that it's an approved pilot and that we have to live under those guidelines. But the other part of this, which you may not know, is we have to record the pilot in at the courthouse as a covenant that we have a pilot, and the other thing we record is the fact that we're under restrictive rents. We cannot flip this property. We can't gross up and then just say, hey, we'll sell it to you and you can have the rents any way you want it. We have pledged 45 years of compliance. Even beyond the 20-year pilot, we have to maintain these rents at affordable levels as designated by MSHA.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman French, did you still have a question?
I was just looking as whether or not the site plan had been approved by our city in terms of traffic and that's a later thing that will happen. My concern is simply that you're coming on to, a 94 emergency byway and making a left to get to 94 become a challenge without some sort of light or stopping. And so that's something else that will have to get talked about. Doesn't affect.
One of the reasons why we resubmitted and your planning director, rightly so, said, hey, I need more detail. Now, when was this? It's like last Thursday, right? And we called on our civil to update, and he worked day and night to get it updated. Presume everything is there that
Okay.
if it's not right, we'll hear about it next week.
Our
I mean, go
our
ahead,
planning
sorry.
director did confirm that he received everything he needed to take the plans before the planning commission which will happen next Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you.
So, kind of like what we were talking about with looking over the reviews and as a consumer, before I buy anything expensive, I'm looking at reviews before I make a decision.
Sure, that's natural.
And then for me, I'm only looking within the past year. And I did look at several different sites, to look at reviews. And, I have the same concerns as others expressed here tonight. The fact that the business is not even accredited by the Better Business Bureau causes concern for me. Initially, I think what you were saying, when people first move into a brand new housing complex, apartment complex, they're happy. Everything's brand new, everything's shiny, everything's going great. But it seems to be that the biggest complaints that I saw online were from individuals that have lived in a building that was maybe a few years older, 5 to 10 years, where the upkeep wasn't up to standard, management issues, and things of the sort. So I don't know if you have new practices in place to address those situations. And I guess other than being part of the rental certification program here, how do we safeguard 5 to 10 years down the road, or even 20 years down the road after all said is done?
Mayor, that's a great question, because I can tell you recently, the ownership of the company has become more directly involved to make sure that I roam the state because of where I live. I'm all over. You drive by stuff all the time, and I'll stop. I'll take pictures. The senior vice president of management, she's on my level, and we do talk candidly. But if I get an owner involved, and many times I will, if for some reason I believe she's understaffed and can't get at it, we have been known to send in a triage team on a property when we know. We ask you as council members if you see something, because we're, Pat's in Columbus, our community manager would be local, our regional management manager that is the boss of that, he or she may live 50 miles away and isn't here as much, but we together do this. But we have, I had a situation up in Sault Ste. Marie on a project that I have been watching, and we lost some people. And we had to come in, and we brought in a whole troop of people to paint and to bring it up to speed. And we're not perfect, but we really care about these properties, and we know that if we're not managing them, maintaining them, then you'll never ask me to come back. You'll never ask us to come. Pat mentioned we're long-term. That means we're here to stay, and we're inviting you to be part of the critique of Kennedy Green as we get started and as we manage over the years. And and then of course, Mich will come in, our investors. At first, everything's brand new and shiny. You're right. But we put the money in, and part of the advantage of going with a project like this and getting funding from MISTA is the fact that their standards for construction and efficiency are higher than many of the market rate units that are being built now, just because they require it. We have to have it. I can tell you, I have ratings that I went through on individual properties, and these are ratings that I asked the guy at the home office to give me an up. They are Pontiac sites now. The Hamilton and Winston Common are 3.5, 3.6 ratings. Everything in the UP right now is 3.9, 4. Traverse City, our sites are in the 4 range. I have 1.5 down the road. Tibbetts Green, a 24 unit senior on Route 12 in Coldwater, that is a 5. And I've got Whitman Crossing down in the southeast corner, down by the border, which is a 3.8. So I mean, I've got the rankings of these right here. And I know it's not the aggregate that you saw, Mayor, and maybe you saw. But if we look at property by property, we can see the ratings are much higher.
And how many of those are 10 years or older?
Dorian Green, which is the first one I did, is now 21 years in. No, wait, sorry, we started at 21 years ago. It's year 16 and it's a 3.5 in Hartford. The one I mentioned that is in Morenci is Whitman Crossing 3.5. It was 2008.
Councilman Reed?
Some of the ones that had comments, I went online and looked.
Mhm.
And it was speaking to the people who were running the actual hotel, but I mean,
Apartment building, yes, ma'am.
apartments, yeah. And to their attitude towards the people who were coming to them with a product. Now, if that happens, how do you all, who in your organization handles that to say to the person who's running the apartment complex, that is not the way we treat our people?
Well, generally, it'll either get to an owner or it'll get to me in the state, because I'm the highest ranking development officer in the state. And when I come to a city like this, like I did in Dorian Green in 2002, and it took us 4 years to get credit, I said, we are a company that we promise that we're going to maintain and we're going to, so let me know. And I will get calls. I will get calls. I actually got a call from Mishta 2 weeks ago on a property that we hadn't leased up yet. Up in Traverse City, it's sitting there 99% done, but we can't get switchgear. We can't get breakers. It's just sitting there, no supply. And one potential tenant that lived downstate was so frustrated because he kept saying, this is my, and our regional managers. So Mr. called me and I said, it's not like you, Woda Cooper, to not respond. Craig, what's going on? Got involved, got it fixed.
Councilman Davis?
I was going to just piggyback on the ratings, because
Yes.
education, you go with grades and ratings and things like that. Why aren't you a member of BBB?
That's interesting because my guy, I thought he had, let me scroll down here.
Can I add something
Yes.
to that? Better Business Bureau, in my conversation with people familiar with Better Business Bureau, it's the ranking on their site is something that you actually pay for. So if you don't pay for it, you don't end up on there.
Yeah, I mean, I have a list of
Yeah.
competitors here with their BB, but I'm not gonna get into that, but it. I have a business in Columbus that's seasonal and every year we pay $500 to become a member. And then they'll let us know if something goes wrong, but frankly, the web lets us know sooner than that because it's consumer oriented, similar to Google, So I thought we were members, but I don't know if there's a nationwide BBB or if it's
There
all
is.
regional.
No, there is.
Nation.
It's regional?
No, it's national.
National, okay. All I know is I pay my fee and that's all. Never looked into it. I'll find that out though.
Well, you can also
See.
be with it in the city. I'm sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
I said, yes, you can also be connected within the city, because I did call Grand Rapids and ask them about the BBA as well. I mean, the BBB, and they was not a member, so it didn't show up.
Yeah, I mean,
It wasn't a member in Grand Rapids, because I wanted to ask you about the two complexes that you,
yes, ma'am. Grandview and 745.
correct, and how old are those two?
Grandview, we did that deal in 2012. We got credits and I found the site. It is a family with 21 units dedicated to veterans who are homeless and disabled. It's been a great project on the river, on the Grand River, and the vets have been incredible. We don't even need a management company, they manage it for us. Well, we do have a manager there, but then my point is.
Easy
great
job for
tenant.
them, right?
Yeah. And 745 Stocking came in 2019, newer on the curve on Stocking, across from Stocking School. 50 units, 4 stories, elevator, but what was unique, we had 3 live work units there where the front of the apartment is commercial space in the back, and these were young entrepreneurs that filled them, and they're very busy.
Yes, city manager say.
Just one question. Thank you, Mayor. So I know you referenced other communities, how it took 4 years or several years to obtain the credits. The one question that I have for you, if the council does decide to grant this pilot and for whatever reason, let's say you're not selected for funding through MISHA for this round, what is your commitment to the city of Albion? Because it has been announced that Kennedy Green is coming to our community. And I hate to say it, but this community, we've had so many broken promises. That something's coming and then we wait, nothing comes, and then we hear another project's coming and nothing else comes. So now that this has been announced to our community, which we need all types of housing here, that's not new to anybody. I've been doing the work. I guess what would be your commitment to the city if you're not granted funding this round, but will you continue to work to
We
bring
will-
this project to life?
Well, it's a great question. I'm happy you asked it because it's back to what Pat said, we're long termers. We've already invested a lot here.
Mhm.
We plan to invest much more to get the application done on December 1st. We will remain committed. If we never get funded for whatever reason, better scores elsewhere, the pilot is tied to our LDHALP, so it just kind of vanishes, but we will come back in the next round. And the next round, though, is not till next October. MISHDA, because of a lot of things on their platter, and you may know some of them, missing middle was one, a brand new QAP, another, late reservations on the April rounds. We just got a reservation letter for something in Marquette. And we just got it a month ago, and that was April. They've been very busy. So they combined it all in the December round. That's all 2024, October of 2024 is when we would come back. All things equal, you know. But this QAP stays for the next round as well, so we would be back. We don't like to break promises. We don't break promises. In fact, at the groundbreaking, at the ribbon cutting the other day, I introduced David Cooper as he and Jeff, when they promise, they follow through. And I said that in front of everybody and a bunch of vets. So, you know, and I haven't seen him break promises. I really haven't, not to communities.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Future agenda items.
Thank you very much.
Oh, not hard.
Well, congratulations.
Just get the BBB so we won't be.
Future agenda items. Anything that council would like to see on the future agenda?
So we will have the second reading on this ordinance that was just approved at Monday's meeting, so that we'll have the first, second, and then it'll go into effect mid-December.
Public comments. Anybody in the gallery would like to stand and address council? You may do so at this time, and 3 minutes is yours. I take it we don't have city manager report.
No.
Council member comments. Council Williams.
Thank you, council, for helping the city and as well as helping precinct 1. We know that housing has been maybe our second largest conversation, if not the largest conversation that we've been having here lately. So thank you all for supporting the pilot, and hopefully we'll have a good development that provides safe housing for people here in the community.
Any other
Thank you.
any other comments?
Well, my own comment is that hopefully, be quiet. Oh, he's ready to go. Excuse me. You know, that we have a lot of needs in Albion. And we really want honesty and trust that when we do things like this, we are not hurting our community. We're helping our community. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you will mean what you say and say what you mean.
Any other comments? So this morning, I was made aware that I have council members who are looking to bring me up on ethics violations. One for the email that I sent, and we discussed that at our last meeting. But the second violation is in regards to a letter of support that I wrote for a potential $20 to $50 million grant that's going to come into the city of Albion.
Oh.
So along with myself as the mayor supporting that initiative, there was a letter from Representative Hatzma, President Wayne Webster, and Ida Hill, who is the CEO of AutoWorks. So I think the issue is that in that letter, I stated that myself and the council were supportive of this initiative. But I'm trying to understand where that violation lies, since that completely lies with our comprehensive plan that people keep bringing forth as reasons for moving forward. Definitely that lies right in what we are looking to complete. On page 17 of the comprehensive plan, it says nearly 45% of Albion's population age 16 years and over not currently in civilian labor force. Increasing the median income and strengthening the overall economy is our goal. So that is part of the initiative that will bring that money to Albion. On page 45 of the comprehensive plan, it says there is a shortage of jobs for workers who have a college degree or higher, especially in service occupations. Supporting highly skilled employees is critical as they are essential to the current and future economy in Albion. Again, that is where the money is going. And again, transportation goal number 2 on page 69 of our comprehensive plan, which is focus planning on resources to enhance and transform the city's major corridors. Austin Avenue is part of that plan. So I guess I'm a little confused when council approved the comprehensive plan. Are we now stating that council is not in favor of getting this money to enhance what we've agreed upon is needed in the comprehensive plan? So I just want to make people aware that these are things that the council has asked to be addressed. Councilwoman Len Reed, Councilman Donovan, and
That's Donovan Williams.
I'm sorry, and Councilwoman Lawler have brought this forward. So if anybody's interested, the hearing is set for December 2nd at 10 a.m. So I just want to make people aware that is a situation that is in front of us.
Motion to adjourn.
Excuse.
Motion to excuse absent members of council.
So moved. Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So. Support.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:09 p.m.
So I'll just leave.